What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's football preview video. There is one final massive fixture left for this season, and it is arguably the biggest fixture of the season. It is the UEFA Champions League final that is kicking off this Saturday on the 31st of May at the Allianz Arena in Munich. The two teams competing for this season's edition of Europe's biggest prize, Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan. We start off today's video here with Paris Saint-Germain. The last 5 fixtures for PSG have ended in 4 wins and then 1 loss, with the Parisians' last match being a 3-0 win in the French Cup final against Stade Reims. In these last 5 fixtures, Luis Enrique's team have scored 13 goals and conceded just 5. For PSG, the main aim of the game is to counter-attack out wide. Luis Enrique has tons of speedy wingers at his disposal, and he uses these players to just run rings around the opposition. Centrally, a trio of central midfielders combine creativity and dynamic movement to ensure that this team is able to conjure up a moment of magic in a split second. 3 players that I have to talk about for PSG. The player who I think has been causing havoc all over Europe's defenses, French right winger Ousmane Dembele, has 33 goals and 13 assists in 48 appearances this season. Dembele is a traditional winger who uses his pace and his two-footedness to be able to just slice opposition defenses apart. And knowing that he is two-footed gives PSG so much versatility wherever Dembele chooses to play. In the heart of the midfield for PSG, I want to talk about Spanish central midfielder Fabian Ruiz. In 53 appearances, Ruiz has 5 goals and 10 assists, and he operates as the conductor in midfield for Paris Saint-Germain, using his passing ability and his composure to be able to just dictate the tempo of the game and either pick up the pace or slow it down, whichever is necessary. Keeping things solid in the heart of their defense, I want to talk about PSG's Brazilian centre-back Marquinhos. In 41 appearances, Marquinhos has 3 goals, and he is the defensive rock for PSG. As a result, he is also their captain, and Marquinhos uses his physicality, his aggression, and his experience to be able to lead this team from the back. For Inter Milan, the last 5 fixtures for the Nerazzurri have ended in 4 wins and 1 draw. Inter's last match was a 2-0 win away at Como in the Serie A earlier this weekend. And in their last 5 fixtures, Simone Inzaghi's team have scored 11 goals and conceded 5 goals. Speaking of Simone Inzaghi, he's probably going to want his team to be able to counter-attack through the center of the pitch. Inter's strike duo up front is constantly looking to keep the opposition backline busy. In midfield, a trio of hard-working playmakers looks to win the ball back and create chances in a matter of seconds. Out wide, roaming wingbacks look to stretch the opposition and then just keep their fullbacks distracted so that these central players are able to do as much damage as possible. 3 players that I have to talk about for Inter. Firstly, Argentine centre-forward Lautaro Martinez has 22 goals and 7 assists in 48 appearances. El Toro operates as a target man for the Nerazzurri, and using his speed, his strength, and his lethal finishing ability, Lautaro Martinez will be expecting to hit the back of the net in this one. In the midfield for Inter, I want to talk about Italian central midfielder David Fratesi. In 47 appearances, Fratesi has 7 goals and 2 assists, and he is a box-to-box midfielder in this Inter setup. Fratesi uses his stamina and just tempers it with a fantastic work rate to be able to constantly run, both for himself and for his teammates. Out wide for the Nerazzurri, I want to talk about Dutch right-back Denzel Dumfries, who has 11 goals and 6 assists in 44 appearances. Denzel Dumfries operates as a wingback for Inter, using his balanced approach to the game to be able to be solid defensively, but also to be a massive threat to the opposition when moving forward as well. Okay, looking at the head-to-head and the S3M2 verdict, interestingly here, this is the first time that these two teams have met one another. PSG and Inter have not actually played one another, which is actually shocking because these two teams are always just competing for the top prizes of European football. I think there is a bit of bad blood between the two teams though. Obviously, we have to take into consideration that Skriniar and Hakimi both left Inter for PSG in the past few seasons. Zielinski and Kvaratskhelia left Napoli for Inter and PSG respectively, and it seems to have worked out quite well for them, with both of these players now finding themselves in a Champions League final. PSG are still definitely hunting that European treble, with the French side having won the French League and the French Cup already. For Inter, there was talk of them perhaps winning a European treble of their own, but unfortunately the Nerazzuri did finish second in the Serie A to Napoli, and they were dumped out of the Coppa Italia by local rivals AC Milan, which means that the Champions League is now the only trophy left for Simone Inzaghi and his team to be able to lift at the end of the season. I'm expecting to see a frantic, high-tempo game of football, with both of these teams just looking to get at one another as quickly and as often as possible. I actually would not be surprised if the more dangerous team on the day is actually the side that has less possession, because both of these teams have proven that they don't really need to have the ball to be able to hurt you. They just make sure that they make their chances count whenever they're able to create them. I think there will also be a situation out on both wings where PSG are just outnumbering Inter. Obviously, PSG having a fullback and a winger to Inter's wingbacks on those wide areas. But I do expect Inter to just keep the ball as central as they possibly can. Inter have this trio of playmakers in the heart of their midfield, Hendrik Mkhitaryan, Hakan Calhanoglu, and then Nicolo Barella as well, who can all just create chances out of nothing. But then we also have to take into consideration that David Fratesi is having a fantastic season right now, and he's come up with some really important goals for the Nerazzuri, so he also will probably have a role to play. Up front, that strike duo of Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram has just been damaging Europe's defenses constantly, and I think a team that really suffered at the hands of these two players is definitely their semi-final opponents, Barcelona. For PSG, they took Arsenal to the sword in their semi-final with Ousmane Dembele, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, all of these players just putting in a really good performance against the Gunners, both home and away. I think this match will be decided by the smallest of margins. Can Inter take advantage of a fairly leaky PSG backline? This PSG team may have conceded the same amount of goals as Inter, but Inter actually have more clean sheets in their last 5. What that does mean though is that when Inter concede goals, they tend to concede more than one. So if PSG are able to penetrate Inter's defense, I think they'll probably do it again and again. Another question that we have to ask ourselves though is, will PSG make use of numbers out wide and then leave Denzel Dumfries and Federico Di Marco chasing shadows? And I think that probably will happen. I do think that PSG are going to boss those wings. I think that Inter will monopolize possession in central areas, but I think these two teams are going to give us a really good game of football. Knowing that PSG and Inter have been in Champions League finals in the last few seasons means their position and their place in this final is definitely warranted. They've worked really hard for it. PSG obviously looking to wrap up their league as soon as possible so that they can focus on the Champions League at the business end of the season. But for Inter, it seemed that the Nerazzurri were in a very unenviable situation where they had to prioritize the Champions League, because it seemed like the Serie A was slipping further and further away from them with each passing week. Again, I think this is going to be a fantastic game of football. I'm super excited for it. I do, however, slightly want Inter to win it just a little bit more, because I do think that when we have seasons where different teams are lifting trophies, it does give us a more balanced view of the footballing world. But if PSG go out there and lift a European treble, they will be the first French team to do so, and it will be an exceptionally momentous occasion for Luis Enrique and his PSG team.